that you are watching, that you come here.
Appreciate you guys watching and keep cheering us on.
We're playing because of you guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, well, and it's the grand finale. That's right, we've got Optic Gaming going head-to-head with Virtus.pro, the best damn team in the world, some are saying right now, and they've certainly proved it over the last 5 days here in Birmingham. Before we go to our panel and our pre-show before the grand final, however, I want to take a little bit of time and thank all of you that have turned up this weekend, because you really have done me proud, you've done esports proud, you've done Dota proud, and you've done Britain proud. This, everyone, is for you.
Relationships with human beings, that's great.
Yeah, you know, he tries his best.
You could have been in front of your computer, but you took the journey. What brought you here?
My friends dragged me along.
Oh, that's a great answer. They're definitely going to air that. That's good.
I work 5-minute walk away. He sent me the picture of the auditorium, and I literally got online, bought a ticket, and just walked down here.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be in lessons, like.
Don't tell people. This is going to air. You're going to.
Yeah. Sorry.
I am here with Dota 2's most professional male model team right here. Can I get your name, please?
It's Chris.
I'm actually studying a esports course in university. It's the very first year in Staffordshire. It's the first course in England and Europe, I think.
Wow.
So I'm just doing a bit of research before I go to TI as well.
He's actually my gym buddy, and we play Dota as well.
Ah, see, that's good.
Yeah, definitely. I carry him, by the way. Yeah.
Like, I've come here on my own. Everyone's super friendly. Give us the muscles, boys. However you want to do it.
Talking to everybody, like loving this goodie bag.
Yeah, I totally fit in. That was great.
The intro got me incredibly hyped for the rest of the games. It was brilliant. The atmosphere of the crowd makes all the games feel so much better than watching at home.
There's a lot of hype. Definitely the shoutcasting, everything is on point. The lighting and the organization.
It looks pretty professional these days, actually, so I'm quite impressed by that.
Okay, well, we're going to disappoint you with that one, so great. All right, we'll shoot you in. Enjoy the tournament. Thank you so much. Navi, Navi, Navi. Classic Dota memes. Thank you. All right, thank you guys. You guys are great. Thanks.
Vodafone presents the pre-match.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the pre-show of the grand final. We're going to preview the two teams, talk to you about how their extraordinary run has led them to a grand final. Both these two teams have got there through different routes, it has to be said. However, they have been the best two teams so far here at ESL 1 Birmingham. Gents, just before we move into this, I just want to get your thoughts about the crowd and the energy here and how you've been treated. Other than you, Cap, because the rest of you have been fine. Cap, you've been extraordinarily rude.
Excuse me? Just because I didn't like your outfit doesn't mean I don't like the crowd. Okay, the crowd has been lovely to me, despite the booing that they do sometimes while I'm on panel. Other than that...
Well done, people. Well done. That's very good. It's been great, isn't it, Nahas?
It's been awesome. Really, I've said all I can say at this point besides, where do I sign up for next year?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good place as well. Purge, how's it been for you?
Been tier 1 cheering for sure. Yeah, it's up there, competing with the best countries in the world in terms of Dota fandom and screaming and enjoyability of the games. And the venue's really full. It was great.
Yeah, it's been good. Optic have enjoyed it as well, haven't they, on the way through?
They have, yes. I think they're a little bit worried right now, considering the opponents they're up against. But they've had a great run. They
the start of the tournament for Fnatic yesterday, of course, and today we talk about it in relationship to Optic. But in a way, they've got to just forget about that and focus on the match at hand, haven't they?
Yeah, you need to beat Virtus.pro before any of that matters. And
I mean,
they have
everything
been the
takes
best
care of
team for
itself
the
after that, right?
Yeah.
Everything takes care of itself if they win. So forget about it, focus on the final.
Absolutely.
Yeah? Okay. With focusing on the final, Cap, how do they get through the Virtus player? How do they take down the juggernaut that have been the Virtus Benz team all the way through this tournament?
I have no idea, because honestly, I'm pretty sure they don't have the crowd behind them either. I'm about 60% of the fans that I ran into were like VP fans, especially on this final day. So it feels like the crowd is going to be backing them as well. A lot of problems Optic have to solve, but the first and foremost is the first 10 minutes of the game. And they talked about it in their interviews too. So obviously they know they're going to try and tackle that.
Yeah, and they start presumably by tackling that in the draft, and we know how good a drafter PPD is.
That is the key to the series for Optic, is the draft. I think they are one of only 2 teams in this tournament that can outdraft Virtus.pro, the other being Liquid that bowed out early. The thing about their drafts that I like so much is they don't give away a lot of information in their first 4 picks. They'll open a very flexible support, and they'll open a core that can be played mid or can be shoved into one of the side lanes, so that in their last pick they have the option of either giving CCNC a very favorable lane matchup mid or running 33 on a hero like a Visage or a Broodmother mid. VP understands lane combinations in the draft better than any team in the professional game right now, probably even better than LGD. You can't afford to give away information early on.
Yep. And it's been a flawless run, Kevin, for Virtus.pro.
Yes.
Have you seen anything in their play that you would think, ooh, yeah, if only a team could exploit this, they might have a chance?
It's a little hard to see what they're doing, in my opinion. I think what they do focus on heavily is making sure that they have the best lane trading capabilities possible. So like Nahaz said about hiding your drafts along the way, you don't want to give them these opportunities to have these great 1v1 matchups. You want to put them in a bad trade advantage if possible, and then from there also have strong supports to back it up. So that feels like it's the name of the game for VP, but even if you get past that hurdle, it feels scary, because to me it seems like VP is just bulldozing past their opponents, knowing that they're better at trading hits, that they are playing it kind of like a pub game. They just hit their opponents and try to outplay them when they do make mistakes later on. And if you can't beat them on that level, you can't even get to the regular game of Dota. So they've got to make sure that their lanes are strong enough that they can stabilize and then play a regular game where drafting is more important in the late game.
You know what the scary part is? I think at Katowice, I believe that panel wrong advice then, because here's the thing, is that VP just keep on giving no one these matchups that probably aren't the most favorable thing in the world. Like sometimes he'll just take a gyrocopter mid and he just draws. He just goes even so many times because he's such a proficient mid laner that he can take those kind of interesting matchups, sometimes just straight up bad matchups, and walk away with a pretty okay laning phase. So it leaves VP more available to focus on the side lanes when it comes to winning the draft.
Yeah, I think since then as well, the focus has switched. It was very much on Roger as a spotlight when he came into Katowice and had such an MVP performance. And teams have now isolated him and said, okay, let's not give him this hero, let's not give him Sand King, let's not do this with him, let's make sure he's not got anything he's got. It doesn't seem to make any difference to the guy. The guy's got too deep a hero pool.
No, I mean, the reason that they were able to beat Vici Gaming so handily in the Katowice final was because I thought, and everybody thought at that tournament, that Vici had gotten there by focusing on their side lanes. And sure enough, they came back and they first picked the Bane in the final. And snap picked VP, as in that Roger drove away from that tournament. It was because they just wrecked the lanes by bringing one more hero at times you didn't expect.
Yeah, I think we can go on, Cap, because beyond those two, the man that we haven't really talked about in this tournament is Ramses. And actually, when you look at all of the matches that he's had so far, every single game, he's been on point. He's either a world-class life stealer or he's bringing out a morph. It doesn't seem to matter what he's played on, he delivers every single time, despite the fact that we never seem to talk about him in MVP terms.
Yeah, and it's scary, the flexibility that VP give, because of the fact that, like, I would love to be able to see a team shut down Ramses like Flight of Moon did at Epicenter, but it feels like whenever you do that, you're left to some sort of exposed scenario, like they ran the side lane Leshrac, then you end up running into a fourth big Venomancer. Like, how are you going to possibly shut down a side lane hero like that? So if you try and tackle that objective when it comes to the draft, VP's just going to slip you one.
Yeah, and that's part of the biggest problem with the team, Kevin, isn't it? In trying to make it, you can focus on Roger and trying to take down Ramses, but then no one's going to have a great game, and if he's not having a great game, then Pasha's having a great day. It's very difficult to lock them all down.
Unless you win all 3 lanes, that's the key to this. I mean, everything you just said is as a result, because they just do so well on the laning stage, that they always have an advantage. You just have to outplay them, have a matchup advantage, and can you get to that position without them having such good trade heroes like Bane, that it's just impossible to win the lanes. You have to get past like all these stages and then win.
Yeah, other than the CIS matchup with Flight of Moon, when was the last time you saw Virtus.pro lose all three lanes? It's not a common occurrence, is it? We're asking a lot of Optic, I feel, here.
We are, but again, you have to be able to do certain things to match up with VP, and the first is giving yourself a chance in the draft. And if there's one guy, if there are 2 guys here that could do it, it's Curl and PPD.
Okay, final thoughts. I want to get your views on which 2 teams you think will win. Before we see any drafts, who's favourite for the series, Cap?
Virtus.pro.
Okay.
For me, it's just a question of whether or not it's 3-0, 3-1, or 3-2.
Okay.
Virtus.pro for sure.
I mean, you have to call VP the favorite here. I do I think Optic can win this series, but it is going to take...
That unexpected, is it? All of them have gone for Virtus.pro. That is the end of our pre-show, ladies and gentlemen, which means it's time to go over to you to welcome the teams for the grand final of ESL 1 Birmingham.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to ESL Birmingham. I am Blitz, here with local UK native and caster Killer Pigeon. Darren, how are you liking the event so far?
Amazing. Honestly, I've been to a few events, but not a UK one. And I've got to say, the crowd has made this an amazing experience. How have you been enjoying the UK crowd, Will?
It is... That's a pretty good response.
It's very good.
It is one of the best crowds I've ever seen. The Tavo chants, I'll remember that for a very long time. I'm sure he will too. You guys have been absolutely phenomenal, but aside from that, we've got one more game to play. Or one series,
One series, yeah.
And that's going to be VP versus Optic. I almost said EG, but...
You're in the past. You're a few years in the past, okay?
Yeah.
2018, Will.
I just woke up from a coma. EG's the best team with PPD as their captain, right? All right, so I wanted to highlight a player from each team. Yeah. I would like to talk about PPD and why I think NA can do it here on foreign soil.
Well, I'm going to have to back that up with a response. No one. I'm going to back that guy, okay? You want to do this? Look at that. Oh, those numbers. All right, you open this up, Will. What you got for me?
So if I'm PPD, the way that I will win, one of the best captains in the world has led this ragtag group to further and further heights. They're on such a big roll right now. They want a minor at Star Ladder. They're in the finals of the major. They absolutely need this. All the pressure's on. If they win this event, they can make their way into TI. Otherwise, they'll have to go through those qualifiers, which is just completely shark-infested. I feel like Optic can do this. All the stakes are on the line. VP, they don't really have much more to play for aside from Benzes. Do they really need another one?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. For a start, I've heard no one's got enough room in his drive for at least one more Benz. No one? Sorry, Solo. I'm getting blank there, my bad. Panic. But yeah, no, Solo definitely got room for another Benz, and more to the point, come on. They've been winning these ESL majors. You think they're going to give up that streak? They've got to keep going, Will.
Possibly so, but at the same time, I think it's going to be a tough one just because of how good Optic has looked. They are in impeccable form so far, getting to the finals in pretty good form, but it is going to be a tough ask for them because VP have yet to lose a game.
But yeah, that's the thing. VP have not lost a game, and they are out of, I think they're out of tips now. Do you reckon they're out of tips?
No, I think it resets after every game, so they're good.
Five games, they've got tips. I think they're going to go hard.
But that'll do it for us. We still have a game to play, so hopefully it's a good one for you guys.
All right, across to the panel.
It's time! Grand Finals, Birmingham, UK's first Dota major, and it's got so much going for it. This is incredible. There is so many of you, and I'm afraid we are going to be a bit cliche. It's Grand Finals, we are the UK. We've had our underdog, we had Pain Gaming, we gave Tavo an experience he'll never forget. It's time for you to have one too. So I know you have smartphones and you know you have torches. And I want you to go ahead and just get them out, just because there are some things you only experience once or twice in life. I see a couple are working it out. Some things you only experience once or twice. The UK's first Dota major, there's only one of them. And you can say you were there when the torches were raised and you saw every torch representing a group of people meeting for the first time. Perhaps they've been climbing MMR for years now. They sit next to one another for the first time. That time you saw Virtus.pro not win a Mercedes. You know, there's so many things that will be the first. Look at this. Nice and high. This is the UK's first Dota major, and you're all a part of it. You're all a part of history, and I thank you so much for that. This is beautiful. This is outrageous. Let me hear you, Birmingham. On 3, 1, 2, 3, your battle cry, please. This is times in your life you get something like that. Thank you so much. This is the grand finals, and it is my responsibility to welcome the teams. And you've just practiced. That was somewhat of a warm-up for what you're about to do for these teams. They've seen so many crowds, but they're about to hear what the UK is capable of. It's grand finals, it's a trophy, it's a potential spot at TI. That's how much is on the line here. So please put your hands together, raise the roof. Optic Gaming! A multinational roster full of stars, looking to go supernova up against an indomitable opponent. Virtus.pro, the very best for the CIS, the very best in the world. They've been undefeated so far at ESL 1. So please, let me hear you, Virtus.pro! I can see CCNC saying we should have brought hats. It's the Peaky Blinders! Alright. We're heading back to the desk. Virtus.pro, Optic Gaming taking to their seats, and this grand final's about to go down.
Thank you very much, Alex. Yes, the teams are ready. It's those bleeding Peaky Blinders. Yeah, I don't know if that's what Optic will be saying at the end of this game, but we've got a best of 5 ahead of us, Alan. It's a long road, takes time, takes patience, of course, but Virtus.pro know exactly how to win best of 5s.
Yeah, they do. I think they know how to win just about anything at this point. If you look back, we have these lane classifiers. Tells you how a team did in the lane. You look back at all of their matches at ESL 1 Birmingham. They have, according to the stats, lost one lane, and it was the Omni-Bane dual lane against Payne yesterday. And by the way, I looked at that game, and in fact, it was Pasha's Omni Knight was ahead of HFM's Gyrocopter in CS.
I think there's probably, one of you two would probably argue with the fact that even
these guys,
late, wouldn't it?
Unbelievable.
I don't really remember them losing that lane.
No.
Stats are lying to me right now. I know.
Yeah, stats do lie sometimes, Alan, it seems. Kevin, what would you like to see Optic come out with for Game 1? Because we know that these things have a meta of their own. They develop as the best of 5 goes along. So how do Optic open up, and how important is it for them?
Well, opening-wise, I think they have to start off with strong lanes. Ideally, I think having a Bane, if they get second pick, for example, get 2 picks initially, I think grabbing a Bane in there would be good. I don't necessarily want them to first pick that, but something that's going to be really strong off the bat laning. It's going to be good mid-game, it's going to be good late game, and then just try to adapt and get a good laning matchup against what VP has.
Is it better first or second pick for PPD in the first game?
Okay, so first pick, Optic, you want to be able to just easily take a nice draft win with your first pick if this ends up being the first game. Second pick is really the test for me for Optic, because it feels like when you have second pick, you're going to get at least 2 of your cores counter or 2 of your lanes, right? And we have already talked about how VP have set themselves up in a situation where they have done both. They've done both, right? Yep. They've mostly focused on the laning phase, but they even had that last pick OD against the Deuce earlier. So I think that second pick is probably the hardest for Optic. So for their sake, they hope they win the coin toss and they get that nice early start where they can get themselves the early pick Leshrac, the Clockwork, the Sand King, you know, the lane dominators that give you some sort of momentum early. Other ones like Bane are obviously very important for them as well.
Okay, Alan, also, we often talk about Radiant or Dire, which side's better, which side's worse, what one
So Radiant's been better in
Radiant's
this
been
tournament.
better.
Right.
Virtus.pro have been playing more of it as
Right,
well.
Right. So Radiant, the big thing is it's most commonly been, I believe, first pick Dire against second pick Radiant. I may have that reversed, but it's 22-15 in favor of the Radiant side. I agree with what Cap said. In fact, PPD mentioned it specifically in the post-game interview yesterday that he felt like first pick was key in those drafts against Fnatic, and that he felt fortunate that they won the first pick coin toss ahead of Game 3. I think the big thing is Optic are more than likely going to take a core in the first phase. It's probably going to be one of Leshrac, Death Prophet, Gyrocopter, maybe outside chance of the Dragon Knight. If they get the Gyrocopter, they can't let Virtus.pro have that Bane Omni combo.
Yep, it's been a key combination for them so far. In terms of Virtus.pro, Cap, presumably there's, they've got so many drafts up their sleeve here, it doesn't really matter too much to them how Optic start out.
Yeah, I think one of the dangerous things about VP is that they're willing to show one big core right away, and that they have the, I guess in some terms, flexibility. I think the Leshrac is perfect for them because they can pick a different core to enable that, and if Leshrac does get counterpicked, then they just switch to a different sort of very strong core. So like they had their Leshrac counter one time when they had first pick, and they switched over to a second pick Beastmaster, which just, again, establishes kind of a big threat that they're not too worried about really losing out because it's the supports that actually enable that core when it comes to the laning phase, right? Like we have a lot of offlaners that can do work, but it's about the 5 or 4 position that sits next to it in that offlane that is more important when it comes to winning that laning phase.
And the scary thing about VP is they'll just come out of nowhere with these game plans. I mean, they opened Death Prophet Chen in 2 straight games against Optic earlier in this tournament. Not an open that they'd used in quite some time, and it was one of the few times that Peters kind of looked like he was caught off balance going into that second phase of the draft.
Yeah, right. I was going to ask you as well. Sorry, Ken, I'll come back to you. But is he going to get caught out? Because he doesn't often, does he?
I don't think so. I think we've seen a lot of tape on Virtus.pro, not just in this tournament, but in the weeks leading up to this. We've seen that they can be beaten. It's just not easy to do.
Okay, Kevin, what were you going to say?
Yeah, the overall, advantage from them just being better is going to make drafting against them so much harder as well, because I think Peter luckily is a capable enough player that he's able to dissect why they lost, most likely, but I think if you're already at a match disadvantage and you have to worry about these like weird openers that nobody else is doing, you have to figure out what is truly the best in the meta, how does it fit into the back and forth of the draft, and can you play against it and adjust between series. Luckily it's a best of 5 though, so even if they don't win the coin flip, there's still enough games without the coin advantage coming into play where they can hopefully figure it out and come back really strong and maybe even win.
Yep. Cap, Battlegrounds, in terms of heroes that might be contested, Sanking is the most played in the last 3 months for both teams, so presumably that's in the mix.
Yeah, I kind of expect Sand King to just be one of those 3 bans to start out. I think maybe we test giving out the Leshrac.
Early.
Yeah, just early. It's so dangerous against VP, though, just because they're so successful with being able to run into support, and then you have to fear the Omni Knight pickup that will enable a core Leshrac as well.
Is there an element of if we do that early and we lose with it, it's kind of demoralizing? Where do we go after that?
Yeah, I think so. There's certainly like a lot of Optic heroes that it's more of the later picks, right? It's the 33, especially if they're second pick and they have to utilize the very last pick of the draft to be able to change the draft to their favor. That's where I think the 33 picks come in, and because I think they're the biggest game changers. I feel like most of the carries don't actually, because most carries, they're either hard enough that they counterpick something, but they're going to be a bit too slow. I heard a balloon pop. I know what that was.
Oh, come on.
Someone picked a DK somewhere. Somewhere in the world, someone just played a Dragon Knight.
I agree that Sand King's like the big support though, just because of his, if he's paired with a good offlane hero especially, it can facilitate winning the lane and also transition to late game and mid game really well, which is, stuns are like the best way to come back into the game. See a mistake, stun them, follow it up with another stun, guarantee kills.
And just before we get into draft, because it is moments away, we haven't spoken, the out there picks. The Brood.
The Brood is definitely a factor.
It's definitely going to be a factor, and potentially, don't say this lightly, and I'm not saying it to pander the crowd, but there is a potential for a techies in here at some point.
Yeah.
Everyone has such short memories. You all have such short memories.
Oh, I remember
Everyone's
TI5.
cheering for techies now.
Hey, look, if any captain's going to pull one out in a grand final, it's PPD.
It's Peter.
Yeah.
But we shall find out. Maybe not in the first game. Let's not get too carried away.
There's a high chance that if VP's up like 2-0, they're going to do some weird
So
stuff.
right away,
That's more common.
right away, good game plan here by Optic. You have to choose when you're facing Virtus.pro whether you want to play against that Chen. They faced it twice. They don't want to see it again. And taking away the Bane makes me wonder if they are going to first phase that Gyro.
Yeah, when you brought up the Chen, I didn't think about it, but once you did, I was like, that hero is just like too hard to be able to deal with, right?
Yeah, the way they run it.
It could just win lane straight up. It doesn't actually sometimes matter if you have the right supports to counter it. It just can win. So better to take it out of the pool. I think it's too much of an X factor.
Here we go then. First pick of the grand final. It's Optics, and they go for the Lesh. So that was the risk. If we pick it first and we play it first game and we win with it, great. It gives Virtus.pro some questions.
Snap pick DP Sand King. Absolutely no surprise by Virtus.pro. You know, you kind of knew if Optic took the Lesh, it was going to be probably either the Gyro or the DP, and then the Sand King the other.
Yeah, Sand King +1.
I like the fact that they banned away the Clockwork and Night Stalker while leaving the Lesh out, because it just means the Sand King, like there's only Tusk that's a good 4 position to protect the Lesh rack.
It's good though. No, you have to do this as Optic. I know the crowd do not want to see another Dragon Knight, but this is exactly what you need. You right now, you don't know whether the Lesh rack is going to be core support. You don't know whether the DK is going to be mid, or you've seen them shove CC on that hero into a side lane. You've seen them run Pycat on that in the safe lane. I actually think this is the way to go.
See, pick a Dragon Knight, kill a balloon.
Not the biggest fan of Dragon Knight going into the mid game though. Like laning stage, he's definitely self-sufficient, but once Spirit Siphon starts eating a lot of health away from him, it causes a big problem until you get the BKB up. And then in the ultra late game, it works okay, but also not amazing against Death Prophet.
You know, as much as we talk about 33 and how he's these game-changing picks, and I think that's why Optic oftentimes like to be able to leave his pick until at least the second phase, if not the very last one. But it does mean that CCNC is stuck in this role where he has to be the one who basically gets a pick that can't really be messed with, but also doesn't have a whole lot of flair to it, right? Whereas on the other side, Virtus.pro, they can do it for every single one of their cores. They've done it in the past with Ramses, where they just won to a Terrorblade, and then that enables both No One as well as Pasha later. And then at this tournament, they've been just going, hey, we'll go pick up a Doom, we'll pick up a Beastmaster for Pasha. That's our big threat. It feels like Optic are a little bit more limited in that regard because somehow 33 is such a weapon. It's both, I feel like it's almost a double-edged sword when it comes to draft.
Well, I have seen them. You will see them though at the end of the draft turn around and go for something like a CCNC Lina. That's kind of the one big flashy hero that I feel he plays at that super elite level. Yeah, I'm down for that. Unfortunately, neither of these two teams really an Invoker team.
Yeah, you guys don't want to see Quinn's Invoker, guys.
Oh, Jesus.
So with both Beastmaster and Doom banned, basically Sand King needs to pair with an offlane hero that's just really strong on himself. That way it can make him better, because as a support by himself, he's good, but he doesn't win the lanes as hard as somebody like a Bane or other great trading heroes. So with all these bans being gone, it might be a little weird for VP to grab a pairing.
Yeah, shout out to Nick if you're watching at the hospital.
We love you, man. So VP being second pick do get this ban into pick to start the second phase, probably thinking about their second support, something like a Disruptor, maybe on the radar, maybe even a Warlock.
Singing Shadow Demon as well, just because it counters the Yules on Death Prophet, but they ban it out. So Disruptor themselves would give them the ability to force Optic into taking team fights when they don't necessarily want to, until they get BKBs at least. So usually you see a pairing with a Vision hero, but Night Stalker's banned, Beastmaster's banned.
Now, as Optic, you have to show support. They've favored the Jakiro recently. In spots like this, also the Rubik still available.
Yeah, I think that might be beyond Dice Frog. I think VP is pretty tough.
Yep. Also, pick that Optic haven't shown recently, but they've gone to a lot in the patches before this, has been the Witch Doctor.
Yeah.
Just not the biggest fan. I think he's phased out a little bit too much.
Since the Maledict nerf, right?
Yeah, and he's already really vulnerable in lane, and he's got the projectile stun, and like a lot of late game situations, even if you're behind, Witch Doctor just feels really useless unless you can get a Maledict off on a hero at the start of the fight. So just feels a little bit too weak in lane to me.
A lot better at being able to contest solo offlaners because you can put offensive pressure on him, right? But when you're in the middle of a 2v2 scenario, you're waiting for that Maledict to do its work. It's like, well, you've already lost that fight by that point.
I played a lot of Rubik. There you go.
Yep, there's the Ruby. Yeah, that's the one I was thinking about. I think that's probably going to be in the hands of Zai, but PPD has played it. So again, the flex value of that Leshrac is still on the table, even after showing the Rubik.
And they're really trying to leave open this Leshrac potentially being side lane, right?
Yep.
And
Same kind of goes
with
the key to the
DK.
draft.
They're finally going to get a reveal out of Virtus.pro. Again, this is the advantage of the first pick, is that you're going to be able to see at least 2 cores before you have to show your 2.
They have a great stun lineup right now too. It didn't really like scream out to me seeing the first 3 picks, but they combo well against enemy heroes. And once they actually grab somebody in team fight, it's going to be chain stuns all the way. I guess they need mobility items to maybe fully punish against that, but...
So we're looking at like a, I don't know, a Viper, maybe a Lifestealer, Troll. They could also show Luna here. I don't necessarily, maybe something that you can hold till 5th if you look in that direction.
I'm guessing it's weird there's been no Gyro or Luna ban so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like which is going to be more open for you in the regards of VP, and I think it's your safe lane, Gyro, Luna, Lifestealer sort of heroes that are just good team fight and always can kind of fight and give the edge to Pasha. But then I look at the remaining offlaners, I'm not so certain that actually...
Well, that's why I say I think you throw a hero like, oh, that's not what I thought. Wow.
All right, so we now switch to...
Oh, gosh.
Be an SK offlane.
Oh, God, that aggro dueling is actually nuts.
With an option to, if Optic runs some sort of core Leshrac, I think they could actually do Sky Core, but we're definitely going Sand King, like 90% Sand King Core. And they're just going to have this really strong aggro dual lane, which we saw so much at Epicenter. Any sort of Axe +1, Axe Sky was very common.
You know the pick that LGD has shown against the Skywrath Mage is the Pugna. Can you fit a Pugna into this lineup as Optic? You already have a lot of disable.
I don't think it's as important here. Like the fact that it's a Sand King core, I think, is just a bit of a limiter slightly, because he's good in the lane, but him and Sky don't match up perfectly. Like they have a lot of damage potential, I guess, but like Sand King can't really defend the Sky with as much of a threat as a girl like Axe can, who has a separate disable from his range nuke while also having like spin damage at creep lane.
Yeah.
Like Sand King has to have a decent start for him to be good, but if they shut this lane down, I think that's an opening for Optic.
I agree. I think an Optic played the trump card a little early because, again, the value of 4th picking relative to 5th pick is higher when you're 1st pick overall, because you're not going to have that last overall pick. And I think it's fine to show that Visage as a 4th pick in this situation. So if you had to guess, Cap, you think you take an offlaner 5th as Optic? Or you think you go back for your 2nd support?
I mean, it's hard to read their draft right now.
Exactly. This is what they had to do against VP, or the VP lanes were just going to eat them alive. Now, they still might.
The 4 positions that can change something, like a saving hero for the Leshrac, like Nago or Tusk, are okay,
I like something like that.
You like what?
I mean, like VP's heroes are all very defensively weak. They all have super low armor. Visage in this case, like if Optic has like a decent snowball and they don't get super out of position, and they've got like Static Storm combo, they've got Sky combo, and they've got like Burrow Strike Epi. That's their initiation. That's like 3 support impacts that are usually used to pick off like 1 hero in a team fight. Yes, if they initiate, it could be great, but if Optic just gets kind of evasive and deathbally and tanky when they take these fights, I feel like they can outplay VP's draft with the heroes they have.
Do you think PL is going to be there in time? Especially, he's going to have to sustain a heck of a lot of pressure in lane, right? He's likely going to be laning against that Sand King Skywrath.
Yes, possibly. They could maybe put Lesh there. They could maybe, like, we don't really know what the last VP hero is, so maybe they'll change their lanes in the end, but if he just gets like a hood picked up with Shred's Aquila Wand or something, he can actually fight these guys really head on, especially with Doppelganger. Like, the only big issue is like silence, Static Storm, that kind of a thing.
I think VP just goes something like a Sven here, Warcry up, and PL just doesn't do anything for a lot of the game.
They have so many stunts this game. I don't think Sven works. And you'd have to, again, he's a hero that has to jungle quite a bit, whereas Optic's going to be moving around constantly with Visage Bats and Dragonite and Leshrac. They have so many pushing heroes that, like, PL can basically just be the survivable guy that lanes and pushes creep waves while his team is busy, eventually transitions into items that they just can't deal with because they have 3 support-like heroes.
they don't have like a ton of actual initiation from Optic. If you really...
Oh, God. I think Optic have given themselves a chance in the draft, and I'm going to roll the dice. Optic. Kevin.
I'm going to confidently say Optic, no roll of the dice.
I think Phantom Hunter is actually a good pick. I think like Sky has a problem with the landing phase issue, but I'm still going to go VP.
Okay, 1 for VP and 2 for Optic as far as our analysts are concerned. Ladies and gentlemen, the road of the grand final starts here, and also the chase for the MVP by Mercedes-Benz as well. Game 1 is about to begin.
This is it, ladies and gentlemen. The grand finals here at ESL 1 Birmingham 2018. Optic Gaming going up against Virtus.pro. I'm ODPixel. I am going to be joined by Fog for this best of 5 between these two. Fog, this is going to be a fantastic series, and already we're seeing a bit of fun off the draft. We've got a Sven. This is a hero. Lots of teams, they're ignoring. VP's picked it up, and there's every reason to be scared of the VP, Sven.
I've talked to so many teams about this here, and people are like, man, you see PL, you see these games, and conceptually, on paper, Sven looks fantastic.
But what's the problem?
But it's a
There's certainly going to be a lot going on, and it's sort of the rest of the draft that VP have. There's some scary sort of hero play combinations. We've got Solo, Disruptor, no on DP. We've seen it do so much. And of course, the last time Optic and VP went against each other, it didn't go too great for Optic.
He's getting pressured a bit here.
Like chasing down.
With that Orb of Venom too.
I'm going to continue for this. Can they finish off the killer turn with a quick stun onto PyCat? PyCat now turning his attention towards Solo, but not looking to chase any further. So Solo and Ramses will get themselves away, but we'll see how these lanes do settle off. So at the moment, PyCat taking the PL down to the bottom lane, so we can go up against Solo and Ramses on this Disruptor Sven. Is either of the sides, you feel in your opinion, at least 5 minutes, we're unlikely to see too many movements from the side lanes, as both teams just having to prioritize securing farm for their side lane cores.
Yep. So this Visage, if Visage gets pretty out of control in this game, which they're setting up 33, and they tend to set up 33 for these type of games when he's playing it, he has a lot of kill options on these very squishy supports. Disruptor and Skywrath do not have fun versus this hero. Solo eating quite a lot of harassment bottom, as we've expected.
Stun from Zai.
He's got the Mango too.
He's bringing it down low, looking for Solo. He's going to need a couple more touches, and you're not going to get it because Ramses is there with the stun. Zai does have to be careful. He's trapped in by the kinetic field, and Ramses is going to be able to get it. They turn it around VP and get themselves first blood for Ramses in the safe lane.
Solo had the stick charges saved up. He was kind of baiting Zai in there. Zai oversteps his bounce a bit too much with that creep wave on him.
And so it begins as well. Ramses dropping Zai the tip.
Yep.
First blood. Zai straight back to lane. Same time up top. Two-man Burrow Strike from Pasha coming out to hold back 33 and PPD as they were trying to make a bit of a go onto Roger. Looking at the CS, 33, 6'2". This top lane between both 33 and Pasha, pretty much the lane where the least farming is going on because of how aggressive the two supports are, enabling one another's cause.
It's smart to have the Visage up here. You know, if you have a PL up there, you're going to get constantly harassed by the Caustic. Visage, Rubik, double-ranged heroes. They can distance themselves from that and not eat as much harass. Solo finds himself a regen rune. That's fortunate.
Can stick around. Quickly looks to disrupt the side pull attempt here from Zai.
Look how well strike. Look how good CCNC doing mid versus the Death Prophet too.
Yeah, 18 for 4 against no one's 14 for 2.
Yeah. Very close matchup.
Top lane 33 though, Pasha. Roger gets in for 1. They may even be able to see if they can look for another. Same time down bottom, PyCat. He has got the Mango and a Burrow Strike available.
He can distance himself. We'll be alright. So now Roger's gonna go back to base, pick up another null, and this is where he's got way more mana. They can constantly throw out this harassment. This is the build that we've seen from these guys. You pretty much rush the Veil as quick as you can. You probably skip the boots if you can get it early enough. They have very good benefits too from that Veil. Disruptor saying he could really apply a lot of pressure if he gets it at an early time. But this is the Roger that we see a lot of the times. It hits nighttime, and he usually likes to guarantee no one's lane. They try to get him a kill early on.
And as we said, CCNC was getting a little bit ahead in that lane, so if VP can sort of make sure that no one's able to get that advantage once more.
Yeah, I think this is I see Roger do this so much, though. It's like that form anyway. Sometimes he has a ward, too, or Solo passes him a ward. He goes in places and tries to gank Ramses. Dropping a bit low there. The tower. Oh, look at that. Solo drops a branch for him to eat it. Some teamwork.
And that is, well, we've still got, what, 2 tangos on Solo, but Ramses himself out of regen. Yep. Good to play a little bit careful. Top lane, Pasha. We go on to PPD as Roger. He's headed up back towards the top. Looking towards PPD, telekinesis onto Pasha. Return with a Fade Bolt. Hold back the 2 of them, but still, they get the aggro at the creeps. They're able to pull them around, continue to get that farm for Pasha as they look to sort of chase up with the Sand King. Mid lane, no one.